This is a famous poet. His name is Seamus Heaney. In fact, he died just a year or two ago. And this is the most famous translation of Beowulf, and here's why. If you translated this word for word, it would not make much sense. So what Heaney did is he took this and he translated it word for word and then turned it back into poetry. Now, when we think of poetry today, what are some of the things that we would expect from a poem? Rhyme is a big thing. Meter is a big thing. Rhyme typically has to do with the ending word. Roses are red, violets are blue. I love you, no matter your hue. I don't know what that means. Anyway, the point is this. We expect rhyme, we expect something at the end, and we expect meter, which is what? It's a syllabic pattern, it's a rhythm. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da. Keep going. No.
Yeah. Come on. I'll give you a beat.
That's all I got. Point is this. We expect these from poetry. This is not always the case. When you're writing poetry way back when, you actually used two very different devices. One of them was alliteration. Check this out. On the left-hand side. Look in each of these lines, how many of the words begin with the same letter? Like for instance, where it says oft, shaled, chafin, ske parena, praten, however he says that. The point is the S, S, S. In the next line, M, M, M. In the next line, E, E. And then F, F, F. And then W, W, W. You get the point. There's a lot of alliteration. What else do you notice about every single one of these lines?
It's like broken into two pairs.
Broken in half, into a pair, into a set. There's a break in the middle of each of these lines. Does anyone happen to know the fancy term we have for a break in a line of poetry? I will tell you. It is this. There's going to be a few new terms I'm going to throw at you today, and I want to make sure you get each of them. This first one is caesura. Caesura. It is a pause or break in a line of poetry. And Old English poetry was known for having a caesura in the middle of the line. It was also known for having a lot of alliteration, which is the repetition of the initial consonant. Alliteration. These two components make up Old English poetry. Well, the Old English time period for writing was between what 2 years? Quick review, Sam. When did Old English begin?
420.
500 AD.
500 AD, and when does it end? Old English.
600?
No.
1066.
1066. 500 to 1066. This is Old English. Beowulf is written somewhere between 700 and 1000. We do not know when, because we can't figure it out. Because we don't have good records from the time period, because no one was interested in writing stuff down and saying, here is when Beowulf was written. No one really knows for sure. There's a lot we don't know about Beowulf. Like what, for example? The author. The author is the same one who wrote lots of things, the Anon guy, right? Anonymous. We don't know. We don't know a lot about it, except for what we've been able to piece together. And by the way, when Beowulf was first studied, it was studied as a historical document. Imagine sitting in history class, being handed this book and told, read this for a history of the Germanic tribes.
That's terrible.
For a history of Scandinavia,
Yeah,
Denmark. Yeah, they'd be like, so where does this Grendel guy come from? And Canaan and all of this? The point is this, it wasn't treated as an epic poem or something of magnitude until the 1900s. And a famous writer came along and said, we need to pay attention to this, this is important. This famous writer is also famous for a story about a dragon and a theft.
J.R. Tolkien.
Tolkien.
No.
Tolkien.
That's. I was like, this is The Hobbit.
It is The Hobbit. And Tolkien is responsible for how famous Beowulf is today. I kid you not, you would not be reading this if it weren't for Tolkien.
Oh, that's what's up.
Tolkien basically said, this is not a historical text. It has some historical stuff in it. This is a poem. And it captures Old English poetry. And it's beautiful and heroic. Now, you obviously noticed it. This was a heroic story. You got a dude named Beowulf. And what does he do throughout the story?
He saves people.
Wrecks
Dude is nuts.
everything.
Right, dude is nuts.
He arm wrestles everything.
Okay,
Brings
okay.
underwater.
Okay,
For
for how
like
long?
7 days.
Now consider this. You walk into a room, Andrew walks into a room, and he's like, "What's up? I'm Andrew Bree Stringfellow. Man, I can run 6 miles. I can bench press,
380.
30.
I can bench press 120. Don't mess." Now picture, he walks into a room and says, "Behold, I have destroyed 3 monsters. I have beheaded many of them. I defeated a dragon. I once held my breath for 7 days underwater while slaying many sea monsters. Beware, I am Andrew Bree Stringfellow." We'd be like, whoa. And even if we didn't believe him, because there's so much we don't believe of what Beowulf says, it's still pretty awesome.
It's fact.
It's still
I
pretty
still like
awesome.
hearing it. Like,
Why do we like hearing it?
Because he keeps the seas safe for us.
Yes, he does. When we're sailing on the seas, we can say, "Thank you, Beowulf, for defeating those monsters." This is a much different time period. This is a time period where you listed your accomplishments simply to set the tone of you being a hero.
Your ancestry.
What was another thing that was really important?
Listen to your ancestry.
Your ancestry. You start by saying, "I am this person, son of this person, son of this person, son of this person, son of this person." And who do you not mention in the ancestry?
Your mother.
Any of the mothers, right? You don't mention any of the women. You just say, "Son of this man, who's son of this man, who's son of this man." Ancestry is so important. The hero is so important. The battle is so important. And achieving what in the battle?
Glory.
It's basically bringing back the Spartans,
Yeah.
right? How often have we watched 300 and thought, "That's what I'm talking about"?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Basically, the one, I forget who it
This
is.
is Sparta.
Thank you. Do you remember the scene where they said, "Their arrows will blot out the sun"? What do they say?
He was like, no way.
No. That ruins it.
I doubt
Their arrows will blot out the sun. I really don't think that's possible. Sir, the sun is much light and the arrows are this thin. No, they say, "Then we will fight in the shade."
Oh, that's super cool.
That's awesome, right?
I mean,
And it's insane because it's a time period so far removed from our own. Now we get on our little video game controller and send the drone into foreign land, and we drop bombs. You know, there's no
drones
more.
are so glorious.
There's no more strap on the armor and go into battle with swords and spears, which would be so cool. I would die so early on.
No, you wouldn't.
How cool!
You
would that
wouldn't
be?
even go to war. You just stand back
I'd be
and
one of the
guys,
senators that sends everyone to war.
the sun is being blotted out by their arrows. Carter, go get a sword, please.
Not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. The point is this: when Beowulf was written, believe it or not, what it's describing is actually not even remotely happening.
Really?
Not even remotely happening. Because it's taking place in what time period? The Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, which is known for what?
Nothing.
What stories do we have originating from this time period?
Knights.
We have the knights, we have King Arthur, we have chivalry, we have all that stuff. We don't have these massive, big, heroic battles like we had in the big epic poems. Like what epic poems?
Oh, the Iliads.
The Iliad,
Yeah.
the Odyssey, and what's the Latin version of that?
Oh,
The Aeneid. The Iliad, the Odyssey, the Aeneid. The stories of the foundation of the Greek Empire, the foundation of the Roman Empire, and now we have a story of these Germanic tribes. These amazing things. However, we have a very interesting aspect to this, which is these take place way back when. However, the speaker here is of what religion in Beowulf? A Christian. A Christian narrator. But here's my question. Is Beowulf a Christian?
Well,
Well, yes.
In the book.
In the
Yeah.
story, he gives all the credit to God.
That's what the narrator says.
Yeah.
In Beowulf's mind, is he a Christian?
How can we know if the narrator...
I'm pretty sure
I would
he's
think
giving it
he's
to
consciously
himself
aware of
based
it.
on the way.
Here's where it gets really complicated. The narrator throughout is saying, glory be to God, glory be to the one God. Beowulf gave his glory to God. Beowulf is not remotely Christian at all. I mean, he's got many gods. He's a pagan. He's a heathen. But he is heroic. And we have recently in England a resurgence of Christianity, mostly because of the famous missionary, St. Augustine, who comes and brings Christianity. So you have a bunch of new Christians wanting to tell stories of the glory days, the old days. So they infuse these stories with Christian elements. Stories of pagan people, pagan times, but infuse them with Christian elements because that's what the speaker believes. Thus, the story of Beowulf. Beowulf is really more or less a chance to remember what it was like in the old days with heroic people, back when the men were men and the women were too, right? That's ultimately what this story is. And it's told through these devices of caesura and alliteration, along with 3 other specific literary devices. And the first one is the one that we just mentioned, which is an understatement. I've got a really cool name for you, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it. When have you heard about this?
I think it was just on a podcast quiz.
Yeah,
But I remember it was we all thought it was funny because it sounds weird.
Yes, most people pronounce it litotes. I've also heard it pronounced litotes. But litotes is the most commonly accepted pronunciation of this, and it means a dramatic understatement. Litotes, dramatic understatement. He was the wrecker of meat benches, the rampager of foes. That was one good king. Not just a good king. Let me give you another example. This is a fun one. Check out page 95 in your book. At the bottom. This is describing the lake where Grendel's mother lives. Now, she is one scary girl. She's insane. Which is probably why in the film version of Beowulf, she's played by Angelina Jolie.
There's a
Nice.
film
Will we
version.
watch
Yes.
Oh, there's a film version. How have you not seen it? It's animated.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of animation like in Polar Express where it's real people.
It's CG.
And Angelina Jolie plays Grendel's mother, and she is scary.
it? Can we watch
But
it?
also
It's hideous.
a little
Can we
alluring
watch
at
the
the same
trailer?
time.
A little what?
Alluring?
Can we watch the
Oh,
trailer?
harder.
We'll see. I will say this. If you look at the bottom, Beowulf shows up, and this place sounds insane.
That is no.
Listen. A few miles from here, a frost-stiffened wood waits and keeps watch above a mere. The overhanging bank is a maze of tree roots mirrored in its surface. At night there, something uncanny happens. The water burns, and the mere bottom has never been sounded by the sons of men. On its bank, the heather stepper halts. The hart, in flight from pursuing hounds, will turn to face them with firm-set horns and die in the wood rather than dive beneath its surface. That is no good place. Really? Because you're basically describing hell. That's no good place. You almost picture the person telling this stepping back and scanning the crowd, waiting for someone to object. That's no good place. What's more? Demons, hounds of hell, rampages of foes, meat benches and whatnot. It's litotes. It's a dramatic understatement. You set up something grand, and then you say something that doesn't quite match it. And sometimes it's to a humorous effect. Let me give you another one. Let's call it metonymy for sake of making it easy. Metonymy. Metonymy is referring to something by something closely associated with it. Now there's another cool word, synecdoche.
Yeah.
We're just going to deal with metonymy, and I'm going to say they mean the same thing for now because it's easier. They don't. I know they don't. But it's easier. Okay. So we're going to call it metonymy. I was listening to country music. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm not. I love me some country music.
Oh.
I love me some country music.
That's because you were raised wrong.
I was raised what?
Wrong.
I was raised on
Just
Christian
wrong.
rock. Thank you very much.
They
So
were-
yes, I was
Good
raised
old
on-
Creed.
And Petra.
I
Now,
don't think that you can
Oh.
listen to country music and say, we're raccoon.
They say that in songs. They're like, raccoons in the trash, raccoons in the trash, raccoon, 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 raccoon.
Play
in
one.
the trash. I'm gonna give you an example.
Do you need your banjo to sing
And
that
I'm trying to remember who sings this.
Keep it open.
I do know who sings this. I think it's the group that sings Day Drinkin'. You know the song? Day Drinkin',
one? No, I don't.
Day
know this.
Drinkin'. Do a little day drinking. You know the song?
No.
Okay, so listen to this. At one point in the song, they say this. They say, and the tick-tock is moving too slow. What are they referring to? How do you know that? No,
Because clocks go
Associated with-
because
tick-tock.
they go tick-tock. And here's the thing. When you say the tick-tock is moving slow, subconsciously, you are referring to a certain aspect of the clock, which is the movement of the hands. And we all have been in situations where we have watched the moving of the hands and thought, my gosh,
Right
this is
now.
never going to end. Thank you. Thank you. The point is this. By referring to it by the sound that it makes, everyone knows what it is you're referring to, but you're also pulling out the dramatic effect of saying it is moving slow, even though it's moving at the same pace and never stops moving at the same pace. The tick-tock is moving too slow. It's metonymy. It's like when in the movie the FBI agents show up and the guy says, the suits are here. Obviously, if a pair of suits was walking into the building, it'd be amazing. Everyone would be like, what? That's crazy. It's just like a suit walking. No, why do they call them the suits?
Because they wear suits.
They're always in the black suits with the earpiece and the sunglasses, fighting aliens like in the Matrix.
You're right.
Now, the point is this. Metonymy is referring to something by something closely related to it. Let me give you an example from Beowulf. Instead of saying the sword, they might say the steel. He grabbed the steel. Well, the sword is made of steel, but it's called a sword. Or they might say, he climbed aboard the keel. The keel is part of what? K-E-E-L.
Boat.
A boat. Instead of saying he climbed aboard the boat, they refer to it as a part of it. This word will become important later on in this class. The third is the most fun, and so we're going to pause for a moment. It's called the kenning. Ah, the kenning. Ah, me. Ah, bliss. Ah, joy. Does anyone have any idea what a kenning is?
So.
No, that was just
Something.
a kenning is a two-word metaphor. Okay, Sam, what's a metaphor?
Isn't that like saying something is like something?
Yes, it is a direct comparison between two things. I'm going to give you an example on page 95 where we just were. It said, the heather stepper halts, the hart in flight. What's a hart? H-A-R-T.
Bird?
It's actually a deer. Why call a deer a heather stepper?
Because stuff else related.
What's heather?
Grass.
It's like tall grass.
Yeah.
The heather stepper is the deer who walks through tall grass. Now, you're writing a poem, okay? And you're going to say something along the lines of, oh, Beowulf got in a boat and he sailed across the ocean. But you're also a poet. And during this time period, a lot of the poetry is spoken poetry. Not like we have spoken poetry, not like, what said the sun? It's not like that, right? This is poetry as in the oral expression of poetry where you had traveling poets. Anyone know the name of them?
Oh, bards.
Bards, very nice. Bards, we also have another name that's kind of cool for them.
Minstrels.
It's, is it?
Scouts.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember if it's one, I think it's just one T. I think it's that. I'll look that up and make sure. Anyway, you have these traveling people who go around and they tell poetry, and usually they tell it to song. Now, you're going to tell a poem to someone, and you can be like, Beowulf sailed on the ocean. Or you can say, Beowulf climbed aboard the keel and sailed across the whale road. The whale road? What's the whale road?
But for
Where do whales swim?
On the
Oceans.
I'm not going to say the ocean, I'm going to say the whale road. For it is there where the whales are on the roads. Basically, it's a pretty sweet two-word metaphor. Let me give you another example. Beowulf is fighting Grendel, okay? He grabs Grendel and basically pulls his arm off,
That's what's up.
which is awesome.
That
Okay.
is dope.
He grabs his arm, and we're not talking like, you know, we're talking ripping
Oh,
at the
sure.
seams.
I don't think there's any way that you can't, like, just.
No,
I
he
think
grabs
ripping it off is violent.
and rips. And here's the thing. The arm is connected with all these sinews and tendons, right? He could say, the poet could say, Beowulf tore the sinews and the tendons from Grendel. He doesn't say that. He calls them the bone lappings. Okay? And he says, the bone lappings burst. Picture the visual aspect of that.
I don't know what a lapping is.
A lapping is something that connects the two. The bone lappings burst. Or how about this? You know what? How about this one?
No, I like it. I just-
You're fighting,
No.
you get some blood. Okay? You get cut, you're wounded, you're bleeding. Someone says, my God, you're bleeding. And you say, just some battle sweat.
Yeah.
What?
Oh.
What just happened?
Oh.
Okay? It's a two-word metaphor that you should be able to think about and make sense of a little bit, but it's so much cooler than saying the actual thing. Okay? Let me give you another one. Instead of saying the sun, say the sky candle.
The
heat bearer.
That was cute.
The heat bearer. Good. Okay? Basically, you take something that everyone would associate, everyone knows, and you come up with a two-word description of it that's so much cooler. Okay? We're actually going to try this. I'm going to give you a few more examples first. What if I said the bone house? He shattered his bone house.
The skeleton.
His ribs.
His ribcage. It's his body. It's his body. It's the house to the bones. How about he slept the sleep of the sword?
Oh, he died.
He died, but he died in battle, right? How about the arrow storm,
Oh, a storm of arrows.
which is
Storm.
a battle. It's a fight. But if you say he waded through the arrow storm with nary thought, except for his battle sweat, that's pretty daggone heroic and awesome. Versus saying he walked into the war bleeding. No. How about water ropes?
Oh.
This one's, all of these are from Beowulf, by the way. Water ropes, icicles. Old Night Ravager, that was a name for the dragon. Old Night Ravager. The point is this, throughout Beowulf you'll notice all of these two-word metaphors, they're called kennings. Hugely popular device in Old English poetry. I want to take the next couple minutes and come up with our own, and here's the preface for it. Here's how we're going to do this. And by the way, a couple years ago I had a student come up with one for me. Dream Destroyer.
Oh,
That's not accurate. You're
Oh, I'm
like
clock. Thank you. That's great. Here's what we're going to do really quick.
Give her a sleep.
Thank you. Glad these are so fascinating. We're going to come up with just 5 nouns. 5 nouns, 5 objects that we could essentially turn into kennings. Just give me some.
Cool.
Pizza!
Knife.
A
Jeremy
knife.
Devon.
Pizza. Oh, I miss Jeremy.
Jeremy Devon.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy, I miss you.
I don't know Jeremy well enough to make
Look.
one.
A book.
Oh, I need to think of one for Jeremy.
What else?
Pizza?
Pizza.
Corliss.
And what?
Corliss.
Please.
What?
Toenail.
A toenail.
No, can we do Corliss?
Why? You suck.
Maybe during the break. Now, the point is this. Each of these, we have to come up with a kind of a 2-word, typically hyphenated, 2-word metaphor. So instead of saying, he picked up the book, he picked up the what?
Text holder.
The word monolith.
Text folder, the word monolith. I don't like that one.
I mean, I tried.
I don't like that one more you.
Damn.
He went to see Jeremy Devon. He went to see
The study mongrel.
the study mongrel.
No.
The
Mr. 36.
Oh my god.
Jessica's boyfriend? Is that kind of his?
Past boyfriend, I think.
Yeah, sorry, I missed it.
Well, okay, even that is technically a kenning.
You guys all
When you
know this
identify
stuff.
someone by some other connection, it's a kenning. What about a knife? He grabbed the
The Bloodbringer.
Bloodbringer. I like that. That's good.
You're back in.
I'm
Yes.
doing this.
The Bloodbringer. So yeah, and then if we had Seshra after that, you would be writing Old English poetry. basically.
Yes.
Okay. Toenail?
Fungus keeper.
Also Bloodbringer.
Yes. He used the Bloodbringer on the fungus keeper. He sheared the fungus keeper from his foot with Bloodbringer.
Bloodbringer is a great name for a sword right now.
Yeah.
I think I got that from The Hobbit, honestly.
No, but sorry.
You should start. Interesting getting it from The Hobbit because The Hobbit uses this very idea, a heroic time period, a heroic code. There are kennings in The Hobbit. There it is the story of someone who steals something from a dragon, who hoards treasure. The ring bearer is from both Hobbit and also Beowulf. A ring bearer or a ring giver is a king. Because when a king would be happy with someone, he would give rings to that person. This is also a time period where you give gifts to each other. You notice that the king is always giving gifts to
Please
Beowulf.
don't give me more.
And then I give you 7 of these and 20 of these, and here, pile this on your ship as well. Take this back to your king,
He's like,
to your
drown,
kinsman.
please stop.
Exactly. This is a much different time period, far removed from our own in terms of the heroic code and everything. Okay, these 3 devices, coupled with the alliteration and the seshra, make up Old English poetry, which, as we said, goes from 500 up to roughly 1066. What we're going to do is transition from Beowulf into a little bit of Middle English, and then look at both Beowulf and Chaucer and how they connect. But we're going to take a break first. So it is 10:10. Let's take a 10-minute break till 10:20. And don't go too far, because I know Miss Barron wants to see a couple of you for a project, I'm sure.
We have 11 minutes.